So, our next guest really helped me understand the process of really a different ways of being in front of people. How to create your marketing and use it with your press release and your TV appearances, radio, whatever you're doing, but how to put it all together and make it different, unique, and just stand out more than your competition. So, listen carefully. All right, welcome everybody. I would like to introduce you to Rob Lange. And Rob and I had a conversation a couple weeks ago, and I thought that he would be a good resource for some of you as well. And I really appreciate you being part of my course, and just kind of like a bonus of an introduction to you and what Rob does. Hey Rob, how are you?
Hey, great. How are you? This is exciting.
Yeah. Well, I really liked all the things, different things we talked about. I thought it was really a great connection for businesses who service a local area. So would you like to tell everybody a little bit about what you do?
Yes, for over 35 years, I've been known as the expert. And basically, what I do is I help people create the business behind their skills, talents, and abilities. And so many people want to focus on the thing that they do, whatever their talent or their abilities or their specialty is. And sometimes the business behind, I've always felt that success in what we do is created in the business behind what we do. And a lot of people just aren't that thrilled with the business, or they don't understand it, or it's confusing. And even today, especially because so many things are geared towards the online business. And it's almost like your physical brick and mortar businesses kind of get overlooked in a lot of things. But in reality, a lot of things that are important to the online world are just as important to us in physical businesses. So I've helped people create the business behind what they do, and then I've also helped make them experts or authorities in what they do to kind of separate themselves from the competition, stand out, get greater exposure and credibility, and so much more. I love working with the small person, the mom and pop business as much as I do larger companies. So I work with everybody in between. So what I talk about is how to do these things, and I have an 11 pillar system. And one of the pillars that is resonating probably the most with everybody is utilizing the press and media, having your business featured in the press and media, because there are so many great benefits to it. And it's something a lot of us don't realize, that press and media coverage is available to all of us.
Oh yeah, and even more so now with so many different medias online as well. So there's a lot more opportunities, I would think.
Yeah, people say to me, oh, well, people don't read newspapers anymore or watch TV. They stream or they get their news from their phone. And while all of that is true, those are newer forms of media. But in reality, there are there's more media today than ever before, because there's the six typical ones that we think of: TV, radio, podcasts, newspapers, magazines, and online media. But then there is specialty media that we don't think about, that is just as powerful, in some cases more powerful than the big primary medias. I mean, if you're knitting, if you're into Afghaning or gardening, there are magazines and podcasts and programming for all of those things. So there's more media, especially specified media, than ever before that we can tap into.
Yeah, so when we were talking, you shared a story about a laundromat and how you assisted them. Can you give us a little bit of a kind of a surface thing as to like how you helped them open up to more customers?
Yeah, this guy, uh, his background, he was a dry cleaner. He contacted me and he said, here's the deal. And he thought I only worked with big companies because he's heard of some of the celebrities that I've worked with, and he thought maybe he was too small. And I said, oh no, my favorite are small businesses. But he was a dry cleaner, and he said, here's the deal. I, uh, I can't remember the population of his town. It was something like 8,000 people or something. But he said that in his 5 mile radius, he had 7 dry cleaners in that 5 mile radius. And he was explaining to me that most people go to the dry cleaner in their neighborhood or the laundromat in their neighborhood. And they all compete and they're all trying to get each other's business. And the only way most of them compete is on pricing, try to have lower pricing to lure people in. And he goes, quite simply, most people won't drive 5 miles across town to go to somebody else. So if they're not in my neighborhood, he goes, what can I do? And his neighborhood was fully built up. There were other parts of town that were new developments were going on, and he thought he didn't stand a chance. So what was really good is this was a great example of somebody in a very small and defined area. He knew his competition. He knew they all kind of did the same thing. Some of them may have had newer equipment or whatever, different prices, but he wanted something to stand out, and he just couldn't see it. He's been racking his head, he said, for 2 years, and he just can't figure. He's tried coupons, he's tried, all kinds of things. And so we worked together. He purchased my course, Press and Media for Entrepreneurs and Small Businesses. And then he wanted some coaching because he said, I read the course and I really got excited about this, but I wanted some assistance because he had, as a lot of entrepreneurs, there's the most to do, the most hats we wear in the beginning. And one of the biggest fears we all have is doing the wrong thing, doing something incorrect or missing something. And so he'd been burned before. He lost some money on several occasions before by doing what he thought was right, but it turned out to be the wrong thing. So he asked for my 3 months coaching, and I said, okay, well, let's break this down. And he told me what he thought were his roadblocks and obstacles. And I said, well, here's the deal. You're looking at yourself as one of all of them. As you all are the same, and you're looking at yourself just the same as the others. First thing you need to do is separate yourself from the others. He goes, well, how can I do that? We all do the same thing. And so I pointed out to him that when you use the press and media as a business tool, not just something that we watch or listen to or read, but as a business tool, that there's a lot of things that he knows in his knowledge. I mean, he was very knowledgeable. He'd been in business for years. I think he was one of either the first or second dry cleaner in that town. So at one time, he kind of dominated, and then these others popped up, and with each one of them, his piece of the pie became less and less. So he said to me, I said, we've got to start thinking from a different perspective. Let's get out of your dry cleaner thinking, and let's get into the thinking of your customers and the thinking of the press and media. And I said, there are certain things in the press and media. You've got to make your message something that they're interested in. They have a large, loyal audience. They're protective of their audience and their advertisers. So I said, we've got to find something that resonates with them. And it can't just be, bring in your shirts. Would you like starch with that? It's got to be more than that. And he was all ears. He was a good a client, a good student to learn. So I said, the first thing we've got to do is we understand the media's got certain things throughout the year that you can tap into that you're not. And something else is, I guarantee you that the other 6 dry cleaners in town don't know this information that I'm going to tell you. So just by getting into this press and media and buying my course, you gave yourself an upper leg on everybody else and took the first steps. But then working together, I could point out things that even the course wouldn't do because it's personalized to him and his business. And I said, so let's look at some major things that happen in the media every year like clockwork. And, I started pointing out things like back to school. There's a back to school time for them. And there are the holidays. Of course, we're 6 weeks away right now from, Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and Cyber Monday, Mm-hmm. And whatever else they can shoehorn in there, But it's like, some of us dread these things. Some of us are like, I wouldn't go out on Black Friday to, if it was the last thing I had to do. But other people, I'm going to be one of those that get out there at midnight and wait in line. And so wherever you fall, the point is we're well aware of this, and the media from this point on to the end of the year is just crazy with holiday advertising, holiday stories, features, articles, interest. And I said, so we know that there's going to be the holiday time. We also know after the first of the year, it's like, okay, new slate, new year, New Year's resolutions, new goals, new outlook for the new year.
Mhm.
Then we know that there's spring and there's spring break and there's spring cleaning and there's all these things that go on. And then there's summer, there's vacation season. I said, so there's these given times throughout the year. And I said, well, the first thing to do is let's look at those as they pertain to your business. And I said, let's just look at, start with the first one of the year, the new year, new this and new that. And one of the things dry cleaners have is they've got this great ability of not just the service they provide, but there are physical benefits. There are safety and health and wellness benefits to what they do. They don't I wouldn't dwell on it improperly, but there's dust mites and people traipsing in snow and mud and everything from the winter weather. And there's, just your big bulky coats and things like that you have in the winter that you don't in the spring and summer. So I said, let's tap into the four seasons. And we created packages for him for 4 times throughout the year. One of them being the new year. Holidays are over with, so let's do some after the holiday cleaning. And then a few months later, right around Easter, we did the spring cleaning, and we created packages for him that were more than just bring your dry cleaning to me, but they were like, statistics show that 78% of people don't clean their bedspreads, their comforters, and their linens often enough. So therefore, they carry mites and they could carry disease and so on and so forth. So you want to kind of train your people to be on a diet of these 4 times a year, especially your drapes, your curtains, your comforters, everything else. And then you've got to educate them. Not just advertise at them, but educate them so they understand this. And I said, one of the things your other 6 people aren't doing, they're not speaking. And he says, well, I talk to my customers every day. I've got great relationships with them. I said, yeah, but you need to hold like a little workshop or a seminar. It can be online. It can be on your store on a Monday night or a Saturday morning, where you introduce these packages and you tell them why and all the benefits and what the things that they don't see and so on and so forth. So we created a whole 4-season campaign, and then we tapped into, there's other things that have been created, like National Spring Cleaning Day. And if there's not a National Dry Cleaners Day, make one. Let's create one. And you can create these things. We just got done earlier this month. October is Pizza Month, and it's also when I worked with Orville Redenbacher, who was somebody I worked with. It was National Popcorn Poppin' Month. And it wasn't originally. He created that, got that registered, and it's now an official. Long after he's gone, every October it's National Popcorn Poppin' Month, because it kicks off the holiday season of popcorn. So anyway, I said, we can create these kind of things that you can tap into as promotional opportunities. And the good thing about all of these is they are newsworthy stories. You're not just doing a blatant advertising about your dry cleaning business. You're framing it as a media story in the best interest of serving the community, cleanliness and health benefits and everything else, and you're creating packages for them to bring this to you, and nobody else has these packages, only you. And oh my gosh, he loved it. He started doing very well with it. And of course now, and I told him early on, I says, here's the thing, this is going to work and it's going to be successful. People are going to come in, they're going to say that they saw you on TV, they saw you in the newspaper, they saw you in magazines, and it's going to be a great conversation piece. And the print ones he had framed and matted on the wall of his next to his register so people could see them. I said, people are going to talk to you about them, and this is an opportunity for you to not sell them, but present to them, to educate them when you educate, you don't have to do hard sell in business. And I've always believed that. And I says, when you're educating people to this, they're going to this is going to resonate with them. The other thing, the other side of the coin is your other six people are going to see what you're doing and they're going to try to do it, but they're not going to understand all the mechanics behind it. So they'll kind of do it half-ass if at all. And you're still going to be, you were first to market. You're the first one to do this. You're the first one that's established this. And you're not just doing dry cleaning, but you're establishing yourself as an authority in cleaning and health and wellness for these people through your services. And it just worked out fantastic. I get emails every once in a while from them or updates saying, we're doing this or this was the best year yet. A lot of people were freaking during COVID. And for him, it was an opportunity. You got to stay clean. You got to do this. So once people could get out, he really took advantage. So there was just a lot of benefits. But that's just one type of business. But the same thing can be applied to a lot of businesses as far as taking what you do and making it newsworthy and then finding ways to present it to the media that they get excited and want to do a story on this.
Oh, that's I love that example. So if somebody would like to discuss with you working with you, what does a first meeting look like?
The first meeting is kind of, I think it's kind of fun. A lot of times they come into it a little hesitant, and that's okay. Because this is kind of new to most people. We all know what the press and media is, but we don't think of it as a business tool. And I should say that the beauty of this is the thing that the guy keeps telling me over and over. And I tell people this early on is once you know how the media works, you have to learn how the media works. They work their own special way. They have their own language. They speak their own systems and structure. But once you learn that and you can tap into that, that's the true advantage you have over everyone else. And I said, but here's the thing. Every time when I say press and media, I'm talking about feature full-length media coverage on you and your business. Print stories with photographs, like a segment on a morning talk show, a news show, a segment on a radio station or an article in a magazine. And I'm not talking about media buys or ad spends. You don't have to spend any money. All this guy did is he spent the money on my course and coaching, and now he's got this free I call it a forever skill that he can use over and over again because every time he does it, regardless of how often he does it, it doesn't cost him a penny. The way that I show you to do it, it's something that he can tap into for different campaigns, for different times a year. Of course, we all have things in our business like, oh, it's our anniversary, an anniversary celebration, things like that you can tap into. And I got another business that I did that was a baker, third generation baker. And everybody knew him by name, so he promotes his own birthday. Oh, my birthday's coming up on the 10th, and we got a big birthday special. And it's just something he does every year to celebrate his birthday, but he uses it as a marketing vehicle. And I think that's the thing is marketing doesn't have to be marketing or promotion doesn't have to be tedious and mundane and what do I do? I know I got to do SEO. I should do direct mailing. I should have a mailing list or an emailing list. But the press and media can kind of make it fun and interesting. And like you said, I can do this over and over as much as I want. It doesn't cost me anything. So I think that's one of the big benefits to it as well. But the course was designed to kind of be a do-it-yourself home study course. Do it on your own time, and then the people that want the extra assistance, that's available too. And I think he definitely thought that was the thing that made the biggest difference for him.
So what kind of levels or what kind of modules are covered in your course?
Well, the first thing we do, like you asked, was get to know their business. Get to know their background, get to know them, get to know some bullet points about their business, how long they've been in business, what's their area of specialty, if they have one. A lot of people don't, they'll open a burger shop and we make burgers. I think they're better than this person or that person, but it depends what kind of burgers you like. If you like little bitty things, then go to White Castle. If you like thick burgers, so it was just what is their specialty? What is their passion? What are they known for? And I'm looking for, once you know this, you start thinking from that perspective. So if I was talking to a dry cleaner or a guy that owned a car wash or a laundromat, I'm already thinking how a laundromat or a dry cleaner or a car wash could use press and media. Then, as I get more information from them, my picture starts coming into focus. Then I have some exercises that I have them do that was like, okay, and this is part of my backstory, so this is a real thing, but to them, it's imaginary. But let's just say Oprah Winfrey called you and said, I want you on my show for 5 minutes to talk about what you do. What would you talk about? What would, other than being thrilled and enamored that Oprah called, how would you talk about your business? How would you set up and explain your business? And give me 3 points or features or benefits or bullets of your business that you would want to make sure that you express in that 5 minutes with Oprah. And it amazes me how many people in business don't know how to properly talk about themselves and present themselves. Just, I don't mean an elevator pitch because I don't want you pitching anybody, but just if Lois, what is it you do? You should be able to explain that in a few sentences. Who do you help? What solution or transformation you provide? So anyway, that's the first thing we do. There are 6 modules that I kind of cover. I explain what the press and media is and how they work. That's the first thing. That's where the insider tips and secrets come through. And then once you have that, you start thinking about that. And then you start thinking of how you can adapt what you do to that. And that's really a breakthrough, because then you start thinking like somebody that knows the press and media. And it's just like anything else. People want to deal with other people that they know, like, and trust, and that they know what you know. You're on the same page. So I think what it kind of does is it kind of gets you thinking the right way, thinking of your business the right way, thinking of the media as a business tool, and at the same time creates that clarity on their message, where there might be confusion or the overwhelm of, well, we do so, like the dry cleaner. That was the first thing he said to me. Oh, well, I do so many things. Of course, we do dry cleaning, we do alterations, we do big things like draperies and comforters and this and that. We also do commercial stuff, business to business, where we'll do uniforms for the police department, the fire department, the hospitals, and so on. And so we do all these kind of things. And I said, okay, well, those are great things that you do, areas within your business, but really all you're doing is dry cleaning and alterations, right? Is there anything else? And I wasn't knocking down what he was saying. I was just trying to change his mindset and the way he approached thinking about what he did. And I said, well, let's talk about customer service. Are you the soup Nazi from Seinfeld, where you get all angry at everybody? No soup for you? Or are you hey, I'll sit there and I'll spend 20 minutes talking to every customer as they come in, and how are the kids? How's the dogs? How's the Little League team going? Oh, how'd that dinner go that you were making for your in-laws last? These are all, customer service is terrible in business these days, especially for those of us that remember how it used to be. And everything gets so tech-based and everything else. And there's nothing wrong with that. Those are great tools, but they're not meant to replace rapport and relationships and everything else. And that's one of the things we teach too in the program is, a lot of times when you know this stuff, the media looks at you as like, oh, well, this person knows what they're talking about. They're a good media guest. They understand our needs. And a lot of them will have you back over and over again. And George now has got it to the point where every spring they have him on to talk about spring cleaning. He's one of they create their stories with him in mind, whether it's a full feature on him or he's maybe part of 3 or 4 people that they included in a feature. But so that's what we do, is we how the press and media works, adapting what you do to the press and media, and then what to do in the press and media, how to reach the press and media. Okay. We teach you how to build a media list and make media relationships. And then what to do when the media calls, because there's things you want to do and things you don't want to do. If you're wanting the interview, that's the big thing. And so many people, when they call to learn more or to schedule an interview, they will tell them too much to the end of the point of at the end of the conversation. They're like, okay, well, we don't need to do the interview. I think I got enough information now. So you want to give just a few enough information to make them want to do the interview. And then we show you how to control the interview to make sure all of your points are being discussed, and even what to do after the media segments, because follow up is a big part of this as well, where that's the part that gets the return bookings. So many times there's two or three things that we go for when we're doing media things, and one of them is like, oh, we're out of time, but we would love to have you back. That's a line that when you hear it, it's like cha-ching. We're good, we're relating very well. They know there's more to discuss. It's that old adage, that old showbiz adage of leave them wanting more, and there's really something to that. So I think we go through the whole process from how how to make the first contact to what to do after the media interview, and then also, to anybody under 35, when you hear media, they think social media, right, in today's world. But what we're talking about is mainstream press and media, and they're not the same. Social media was meant for social purposes. Of course, some people have figured out how to use it for business, and that's great. But once you start getting this press and media coverage, whether it's a link to a podcast or a TV show you were on or a radio program, or a PDF of the article that you were in or the feature story, you can now use this information to cross over onto social media because it makes excellent social media content. And now you're getting the best of both worlds out of your media. So a lot of people mistakenly think after you do the media, it's over with. And it's like, no, there's some follow up to do. And then you can cross some of this over. You can use it in your emails. You can do so much more with it to really, as a matter of fact, the last module in the course are 40 different ways to monetize and benefit from press and media. And a lot of them, a few of them, the first three or four people think of all the time. I can promote an event, I can promote a sale or a campaign or a launch, but they don't think of the other 38 of them. It's like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. And I'm not saying you got to do all of them, but read them and then pick 4, 5, 7 of them that you want to utilize, and you will be amazed at the results. Lead generation, of course, sales, business, credibility, image and perspective and positioning. There's so many benefits. Awareness. Some people use it for a charity. So I can't remember who it was. Somebody I worked with maybe 2 years ago wanted to tap it. He goes, all these people do these back to school supply drives or these holiday food drives. He goes, well, why can't I, or how can I get in part of those? I said, well, find somebody that's doing them and offer your services, or create your own. So, of course, they created their own. The girl I was talking to, her husband was a manager at a car dealership. So the two of them both did this thing, you can bring it into our shop or you can go to this car dealership. And it's just, there's so many things. Like I said, it actually becomes fun. It becomes like, what strategies can I use? I know, what was it? I think it was during the World Series. I might be wrong on this, but it's this kind of idea. Every time somebody hit a home run, Taco Bell would give away free tacos. Mm. And it's like, so you could create a similar, anytime this happens, you're going to offer this, So there's so many things you can do with the press and media where marketing actually becomes fun.
Oh, well, we do like fun marketing, so.
Anything to prevent it from being tedious,
Right, right. All right. Well, I'm going to have all your contact information below, and also how to get in touch with you about your course and such. Any closing thoughts?
No, I do have a free report for people that are, this is new to them and they're like, I want to learn more. And you can do that. And pretty soon, I'm thinking in December, I'm going to once a month have a webinar on this where I can really get into a lot more detail and show examples of this. And I tell my story of how I got into all of this and some of the celebrities I've worked with, some of the small businesses I've worked with. So a lot of people enjoy that. I get people coming back to hear me speak again, just to hear the story. And there's a lot of characters in it, from Oprah to Orville Redenbacher and Susie Orman and so many people. But yeah, just you can always email me. Um, a lot of people have questions how it pertains to their business, so I do have a way that we can do a 30-minute discovery call where I learn more about your business. And this is for people that are serious. If you're just thinking about, oh, I just want to see what it's about, the best way is, to get the free report, come to the webinar, check out my website. But if you're serious about wanting to work together and have some ideas, then we can discuss those in the 30-minute discovery sessions too.
Great. Hey, Giants, I hope that you're enjoying this episode and that you'll stick around and watch this episode, whichever side it's on. All right. Well, thank you so much for all this information. And like I said, I'll have all the links below. So, and really appreciate your time and sharing with our audience.
Well, thank you for having me. And this course is so great. It's going to help so many people. I love things that help people, and help get them unstuck or help get them across the goal line. And I think what you're doing, the work you're doing, is fantastic. So I am thrilled to be part of it.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. All right. Go back and see the rest of the modules, folks.